She dissolves. At dawn, on the deck of the prince's wedding ship, the Little Mermaid throws herself into the sea and turns into foam on the waves. That is the ending, not a deleted scene, not an alternate draft. That is how Hans Christian Andersen ended The Little Mermaid in 1837. The night before, her sisters rose from the ocean holding a knife. They told her, "Kill the prince before sunrise. Let his blood drip on your feet. You'll become a mermaid again." She held the blade over his sleeping body. She couldn't do it, so she chose foam. No, Disney, 1989. A red-haired mermaid named Ariel collects forks, sings about wanting more, makes a deal with a villain named Ursula. She loses her voice, gets legs, and has 3 days to earn a kiss from a prince. Ursula cheats, tries to steal the prince with dark magic, but gets impaled on the bow of a ship. The prince falls in love. Ariel gets her voice back. There's a wedding in sunlight. Sebastian plays music. A seagull claps. Beautiful film, changed animation, launched the Disney Renaissance. It has almost nothing to do with the original story. Because in the original, there is no villain. The prince isn't tricked. He simply doesn't love her, and she doesn't win. Hans Christian Andersen, Denmark, 1837. The Little Mermaid is the youngest of 6 daughters of the Sea King. She's 15. In Andersen's world, mermaids live 300 years, but when they die, they cease to exist. No soul, no afterlife. They become foam on the water and that's it. Humans live short lives but have immortal souls. This matters. The mermaid doesn't just want the prince. She wants a soul. She wants to exist beyond death. Each princess is allowed to visit the surface for the first time on her 15th birthday. The Little Mermaid waits years, listening to her older sisters return one by one with stories, ships, cities, snow that looks like white flowers falling. When her turn comes, she rises and sees a ship, a prince, young, dark-eyed, handsome. It's his birthday too. Fireworks, music. Then, a storm. The ship breaks apart. The prince is drowning. She dives, holds his head above water, carries him through the night to shore. She lays him on the sand near a temple and hides. A girl from the temple finds him. He opens his eyes. He sees the temple girl. He smiles. He never sees the mermaid. He will never know she saved his life. She's obsessed, not just with him, with everything above. She goes to her grandmother and asks if humans really live forever after death. Yes, her grandmother says, immortal souls. Mermaids don't have them. Can I get one? Only one way. A human must love her so completely that she becomes part of his soul. He must marry her. Then his soul flows into her. Otherwise, 300 years in foam. So the Little Mermaid goes to the Sea Witch. And this is where Andersen's story breaks from Disney completely. The Sea Witch is not a villain. She doesn't scheme. She doesn't trick. She tells the mermaid plainly, "I know what you want, and it's foolish. It will bring you nothing but suffering. But I'll do it anyway." Almost word for word from the text. The deal. The witch will give her legs. Beautiful legs. She'll dance with more grace than any human. But every step will feel like treading on knife blades. Every step, for the rest of her life, on land. The price of the potion is her tongue, cut off, not magically silenced, cut off with a blade. No speaking, no singing, no way to tell the prince who she is or what she did for him. And if the prince marries someone else, the morning after his wedding, she will dissolve into sea foam. She agrees. She's 15 years old. She drinks the potion on the shore near the palace. The pain makes her faint. When she wakes, the prince is standing over her. She's naked. She has legs. She can't speak. He takes her in, dresses her in silk, calls her his little foundling. She dances for him. Andersen writes that she dances more gracefully than anyone at court, and every step, every turn, every leap feels like knives through her feet. She dances anyway. She smiles through it, because he watches. But the prince loves her the wrong way. He tells her he loves her, like a good little child. He says she reminds him of a girl he once saw, a temple girl who found him on a beach after a shipwreck. That's who he truly loves, the one he believes saved his life. She knows the truth. She carried him through the waves. She laid him on the sand. She can't say a word. Andersen describes her eyes as blue as the deep sea. That's the line, blue as the deep sea, and full of everything she can never tell him. The prince pats her on the head and calls her his best little friend. He's not cruel. That's the worst part. He's genuinely kind. He just doesn't love her. There is no villain in this story. The prince's father arranges a marriage. The prince tells the mermaid he doesn't want to marry a stranger. He'd rather marry her, his little foundling. She almost hopes. But when he meets the bride, he recognizes her, the temple girl. "It's you," he says. "You saved me." He turns to the little mermaid with joy in his face. "Be happy for me. My greatest wish has come true." And the little mermaid kisses his hand. Andersen writes, "She felt as if her heart was already breaking." The wedding, on a ship, music, dancing, celebration. The little mermaid dances at his wedding, on knives, smiling. She knows what sunrise means. That night, her sisters rise from the waves. Their long hair is gone. They cut it off and gave it to the sea witch for a knife. Stab the prince before dawn. When his blood splashes your feet, your legs will fuse back into a tail. You'll be a mermaid again. You'll live your 300 years. She takes the knife. She goes to his chamber. She opens the curtain. The prince and his bride asleep. She raises the blade. She can't do it. She throws the knife into the sea. She watches the water turn red where it sinks, as if drops of blood were bubbling up. She looks at the horizon. First light. She throws herself into the ocean. But she doesn't dissolve. She rises into the air and finds herself among translucent beings called the Daughters of the Air. They tell her she can earn an immortal soul through 300 years of good deeds. Andersen's working title for the story was Daughters of the Air. He planned this ending, but it reads like a longer sentence. 300 more years of being invisible, of service, of hoping that someday she'll be enough. Even as consolation, it feels hollow, a reward that looks like another punishment. Why did he write this? Because he lived it. In 1835, Andersen wrote a letter to his closest friend, Edvard Collin. "I languish for you as for a pretty Calabrian wench." Edvard was engaged to a woman. Andersen stayed away from the wedding. A man who loved someone who would never love him back, who couldn't be at the wedding, who could never speak because the world would not allow it. He was writing The Little Mermaid during that year. A creature who gives up her voice, her body, her world for someone who sees her as a dear little friend, who dances at the wedding, who dies at dawn. That's not a fairy tale. That's a diary entry dressed in scales. I've told stories with blood on this stage, toes cut off for glass slippers, eyes pecked out by pigeons. This one has none of that. The prince is kind. The witch is honest. The sisters try to save her. No one does anything evil. And it's the saddest story I've ever told. Because what Disney removed wasn't the violence. There wasn't much to remove. What they removed was the idea that you can give everything. Your voice, your body, your world, and it still won't be enough. That love doesn't always win. That the person you did it for might pat you on the head and call you a dear little friend. She never got the prince. She never got the soul. But she never used the knife. And every step was knives, and she danced anyway. I think Andersen wanted us to sit with that. Not to admire it, not to call it beautiful. Just to know that it happened, that sometimes it happens. And there is no villain to blame.